This video we want to talk about specialized security, and if you've listened to one of my webinars then you'll know that I'll give you a broad overview of the types of specialized security. Anything that isn't what I would call vanilla, that is, warehouses, retail shops, offices, etc., might be considered specialized. And what you'll find is that if someone comes to you and wants to buy, say, a motel, a hotel, any other type of accommodation like backpackers accommodation, or something like a nursery, dog kennels, anything that's outside of the norm, you can probably consider specialised, and as a result, the LVR on that type of property that's available is going to be lower than what you could normally get. So you might typically get 70 to 80% LVR on an office or a retail shop, whereas something like a motel, you're probably looking at more like a 50 to 60% LVR on the property. Now some banks will do higher. It depends on where they are in the marketplace and what sort of business they want to buy. But part of this learning, if you like, is so that you can educate your clients, because often you'll find that a client will come along with a great business proposition. I had one not so long ago, which was actually boarding kennels, and they wanted to buy the business and they wanted to buy the land and the security, if you like, the kennels themselves. And at the beginning, they didn't understand why they couldn't get a 90% loan against that security. Well, that's because it's specialised. It can only be used for that purpose, and that's really the nature of specialised security. You can't just market it out to anyone else to sell it, and as a result, the market for sale is much smaller, and so the risk is higher, and so the LVR is lower. Now, there are some exceptions that you might find, and those exceptions are things like service stations. So a couple of the banks, CBA for a while, was doing 80% against service stations where the tenant was a nationally recognised fuel distributor, someone like BP, etc. And some of the other banks will jump in at those kind of LVRs when they want that market. So unfortunately, it's not a standard policy. But another one is childcare. If you've ever come across freehold childcare funding, you can obtain LVRs from 50% up to 80% depending on the bank. At one stage, certainly Bank West was doing 80% on the freehold. They've come back a bit, obviously. Now, ANZ is sitting in there at around 50%. So you do need to check these things out at the time, but the first thing you need to recognise is what is this type of security, and how can I educate my client to make sure that they've got enough deposit, and are you wasting your time as well? If someone's coming to you and saying, I want to buy boarding kennels at 10% deposit, you need to start talking to them about the fact that this is a specialised security, and despite how great the business might look and what you think of it, not everybody wants to buy that type of security, and that's why the levels of borrowing against it come down. A couple of other funders that do jump into this space every now and again are Paramount Mortgages, Prime Capital, Think Tank. They will do some things that other major banks won't. So I'd suggest having a look at their policies and talking to the BDMs in those institutions. There's obviously a raft of others that you can go and have a look at, but I'd start there and just talk to them about the type of security you've got and whether or not they'll offer anything against it. Another one that we came across recently was brothels. Some of the major banks a lot of the major banks weren't interested. Some of them would do it, but only if the asset was held in a special purpose vehicle. We looked at some non-bank funding for them with another, I think it was Paramount at the time, and so you do have to look around a bit for specialised securities, but there are funders out there. But the key point is educating your clients that this type of funding is not going to be available with small amounts of deposits like 10 and 15%. They're going to need at least 30 to 40% as my general rule. So even if you're getting the inquiry and you don't know what the answer is, I'd be talking to them about 40% equity required, but you're going to go and check it out for them, and then just give them some education as to why a bank will look for that. Getting back to it, specialised security, higher risk, lower LVR, because if we take it over, we can't sell it in the open market to just anyone. There's only a few people that want to buy that. Okay, see you next time.